video will utilize Business Source Complete to help you find medium-sized companies in your industry within a 5-hour radius of Hiram College. And you may be thinking, why do I need to do that? Well, when you're starting a business, you need to know what competition is nearby. So let's go ahead and get started. From the library's homepage, you can click on Articles and Databases and select Business Source Complete from the drop-down menu. Or from your course guide, you can click on Management Databases and go into Business Source Complete. Once you're inside Business Source Complete, use the company information bar in the top menu bar here to look up your information. So from here, it will allow you to look up a company by name. But in this case, we will leave that blank because we don't know the names of our competitors. We need to start by narrowing it down. So down below here, you can start limiting your results. So the first thing that we can do is select either a zip code or a state. In this case, we won't use a zip code because we're looking for a broad area, but we're pretty fortunate to say that Ohio, we can get pretty much everywhere in Ohio within a 5-hour time period. So I'm going to go ahead and scroll down to select Ohio, and I'm going to unselect all. It tends to default to that for some reason when we're using the iPad, so that's just a little trick there. But there are other parts of the country that are also within a 5-hour drive that might have some useful resources, including Pittsburgh. Also, I can uncheck all here, and I can search by Metropolitan Statistical Area. And that would be various cities or city groups. So in this case, if I wanted to scroll down here to Cleveland, right? It's Cleveland, Lorraine, or Elyria, right? So I can limit in that way. But for us, I could add in perhaps Pittsburgh. Let me scroll down to the P's here. And I could add in others like Detroit and other cities as well. And then I want to limit by the size of the company. Now, for this exercise, we'll define medium as having about $1 to $10 million in revenue. So again, I'll uncheck all, and then I'll select the 1 million to 5 million and the 5 million to 10 million. And then also again, theoretically, about 21 to 500 employees. Now in this case, it's not giving me quite that specificity, but I can select 51 to 100 and 100 to 500 for my number of employees. And then this is where that SIC code or that NAICS code comes into play. I want to type in my codes, one or the other, depending on which one you've pulled, right here in this search box. So I'm going to use 524113, which is that insurance industry code again. And I've clicked search, and no results were found. And this is really important, and I kind of did this on purpose, which is to show you that it's trying to find both. It's trying to find both my metropolitan statistical area and my state. And since Pittsburgh is not in Ohio, it's not finding it for me. So I would need to do 2 different searches or add in additional metropolitan statistical areas to try to limit my search. So just for the sake of this exercise, I'm going to uncheck Pittsburgh. I should have chosen a city that was higher on the alphabet. There we go. And I'll do the search again. And here we have 3 different companies here in Ohio, one in Cleveland, one in Cincinnati, and one in Copley that are all falling within our various limits. So let's say, you know what, I don't want to drive to Cincinnati. Let's learn more about the United Benefit Life Insurance Company. Okay, and so I clicked on the title and I'm getting some company data here. So first of all, I'm seeing what their revenue is, what their specific line of business is. So in this case, it's a life insurance carrier. I'm even able to see their physical address. Down below, I can see, again, their financials, and it really depends. So companies don't necessarily have to disclose a lot of information when they're private companies. And so when they're smaller and they're not listed in the stock exchange and things like that, they have a little bit less information that they are required to disclose. In this case, right, I'm not seeing a specific list of executives, but I can see that there are 286 people that are employed. I am getting an even more specific NAICS code that I could use. And then under more, I have some information such as that it was founded in 2008, that it's a subsidiary of another company, and that it is not a headquarters. So this gives me a little bit of information. Just like before, I can get the permalink to get back to it, and I can email that article to me and cite it as well. And so you can also see that its global parent, remember we said that it was part of another one, is the Cigna Corporation, which is a large insurance company. But going back here again to our company information, I'm going to go back to refine search so that we can see this a little bit further. I can, instead of selecting our state here, I can go back and select by metropolitan statistical area, right? So I can select Akron, going down along here, maybe I want Ann Arbor, Michigan. Let's find Detroit here. Actually, first we'll find Cleveland, then we'll find Detroit. Cincinnati, Cleveland, Dayton. So you can see that you can add in this way, you can sort of change your circle a little bit to also include additional cities. So I won't do any more. But if you wanted to broaden beyond the state, that's another way to do it. And here I can see that I got that United Benefit life insurance company that I had found before, but I'm also finding some other items in those other states, right? So it looks like 2 from Michigan as well. So those are multiple different ways to access that information. If you have any trouble with this, I definitely suggest broadening your search. So one thing that can happen if you are doing a search for an industry that's very specific, that perhaps we don't have a lot of companies related to that, fashion being one, some manufacturing, you may need to broaden to a wider area of the country, or you may need to broaden your search a little bit. If you have any questions about that, you can contact us at library@hiram.edu, or you can contact your professor to talk a little bit more about the ways you might expand your